today, these three are the very best options right now. The new S23 Ultra, the iPhone 14 Pro Max, and the Pixel 7 Pro. But which one is the overall best choice? Well, we have 14 different categories from looks all the way down to value to find out. The winner of each category gets 3 points, the second place gets 2, and the third place gets 1. But before all that, I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, Jackery, the world's leading innovative and green outdoor energy solutions provider. More on Jackery later in the video. Starting off with the looks, these phones look very different. You see, the Samsung has this more squared off look, then the Pixel is more rounded, and then the iPhone is even more rounded. Now, there's also a big difference when it comes to their backs. With Samsung, you get this super stealthy black look with the camera modules just sitting on top of the back. With the iPhone, the black is technically more of like a gray, and by the way, these phones actually change their color based on how the light hits them. So in some cases, they would look gray, in other cases, they would both look very, very dark, basically black. Of course, we also have the famous camera island on the iPhone, and then we have the Pixel, which has a shade sort of like in between the two, if you take a look at them from a specific angle. Now, the Pixel is unfortunately the only one without a frosted glass back, so fingerprints will be very visible on this, but I do really like the camera visor on the Pixel. And yes, even though looks are very subjective, my personal favorite one is the S23 Ultra, and that's because it is super minimal. The back feels extremely smooth, way smoother than the iPhone, and I don't know, it just looks very futuristic. With this curved glass around the edges and this full screen design, super thin bezels, it looks as if you're simply just holding a screen. So Samsung's the winner, which means that it gets 3 points, then the iPhone, which gets 2, and then the Pixel, it gets 1 because it doesn't have frosted glass. Now, when it comes to durability, the iPhone is the most durable one here. We got a stainless steel frame on the iPhone versus polished aluminium on the Pixel and the Samsung. I did actually drop my iPhone 14 Pro outdoors on asphalt, and aside from a few tiny marks, it is perfect. And the iPhone also has the highest water resistance of up to 6 meters for 30 minutes compared to 1.5 on the other two. And I have actually used previous iPhone models and Samsungs in pools before, seawater as well, and they were totally fine, although I do not recommend anything other than fresh water, as the salt from the seawater and the chlorine from the pool water can actually deteriorate the water seals over time. Oh, and none of their warranties actually cover water damage, so do keep that in mind. Now, even though the Samsung doesn't have a stainless steel frame, it does use armor aluminium, which is more durable than the Pixel's standard aluminium frame. And it also features Gorilla Glass Victus 2 for up to a 2-meter drop resistance on asphalt rather than 1.8 on the Pixel with Victus 1. Apple uses ceramic shield on the iPhone, which they claim to be very durable, but at the same time, they don't really give us any numbers. But do remember that all of these numbers were given in lab conditions. In the real world, when you drop any of these, they would very likely break, as the asphalt isn't really smooth. There's plenty of bumps and other factors that could influence all of that. All in all, iPhone first, Samsung second, Pixel third. Now, when it comes to comfort, that is definitely the Pixel. It has the most curved frame. Also, the frame sticks out a bit more compared to the display, which still gives it a great grip. And the Pixel is also the lightest out of the three. Now, the Samsung has a more squared off frame. It's still grippy, just not as comfortable as the Pixels. And then we have the iPhone, which has the most squared off frame, basically flat. And it is definitely the most uncomfortable and also the heaviest out of the three. In fact, even though the S23 Ultra is noticeably wider than the iPhone 14 Pro Max, it feels more comfortable in the hand because of that more rounded frame. First place Pixel, second Samsung, third iPhone. Now, when it comes to the display, this is a tricky one, because if we just consider the immersiveness, then the winner is the S23 Ultra, and that's because it's got the biggest screen at 6.8 inches versus 6.7 on the other two. It also has the smallest camera cutout compared to, the dynamic island on the iPhone, which is massive, and it's also got a higher HDR brightness for when you're watching HDR content. Not only that, but the S23 Ultra, since the display is a bit more squared off and a bit wider, we can also see more content on the screen, as you can probably tell, than on the Pixel and the iPhone. On the Pixel and the Samsung, you can also set a custom DPI and get even more stuff displayed on your screen as opposed to the iPhone. Then if you do a lot of reading in bed at night, then Samsung has a feature called Extra Dim, which is a lifesaver, as it literally dims the minimum brightness even further to make it very easy for you to read. Now, the iPhone kind of has this too, it's just that you have to go into the accessibility options to enable this. So far, it looks like Samsung has the best display, but the iPhone does have one advantage, and that is the outdoors brightness, which is significantly higher This can be up to 2000 nits outdoors compared to 1750 on the Samsung and 1500 on the Pixel. And in that case, the iPhone is noticeably brighter than the other two. They all have a 120Hz refresh rate panel, as well as an always-on display, although Samsung's version is way more customizable. So I guess it depends on what you need the most. Do you need more outdoor brightness, or do you need more screen space and extra dim at night? For my usage, the iPhone's extra brightness came in super handy outdoors, so I'm gonna give the iPhone the first place because of that, Samsung second, Pixel third. Speaking of outdoor adventures, we have Jackery to thank for sponsoring today's video with their new Jackery Solar Explorer 1500 Pro, an absolute beast for outdoor tech enthusiasts. With a 1512 watt-hour capacity and a maximum output of 1800 watts, this generator can handle anything you throw at it. You can also get 6 foldable Solar Saga 200 watt solar panels that ultra charge it in just 2 hours. That's the same as wall charging. You'll feel safe knowing that the 2 built-in security chips can guarantee 12 forms of protection, and the chip can also run 80 million safety checks per second. And all of this can be achieved without exceeding 46 decibels. That's library level noise. Thanks to their super quiet mode for more discreet powering experiences. So if you're interested in an awesome portable solar generator, check out the link down below, as Jackery is offering £100 off their solar generator 1500 Pro in their first week of sales starting from February the 16th. Now, in terms of video recording, this is quite tricky because they all have advantages and disadvantages. When it comes to the sheer quality, the iPhone is definitely the best. The footage is super clean, super high-res, very smooth. You also have ProRes for even higher quality. The night video looks great. It's just amazing. Switch and choose the